Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Beena will probably be a little late. She has her art classes, so
No worries. I was
yeah. I'm so pleased that she's doing them. It's just too excellent. So it's really cool, really cool.
I tell you what, now, because now everybody sleeps in, it's getting, I had to set my alarm to make sure I'm up on time.
Yeah. Brilliant, 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 brilliant,
Okay,
brilliant.
just pulling
Fantastic.
everything out.
Take your time, take
Look
your
at
time.
this, just get relaxed.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice lazy morning, so we can take it slow and take it easy. I like that when we can do that. Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, this is, I've realized now my busy days are Mondays and Thursdays. So,
Yeah.
but all the other days I'm
Oh,
able,
good.
but the other
Oh,
days I'm able to go a little bit slower. So
that's good. That's good. You pack it all in and then you like go full tilt and you just make sure you get enough sleep, right?
that's why it's nice because on Mondays and Thursdays I have us in the morning, then I have work, and then I have school at night. But
Wow.
on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I don't have to get up super early, so it's nice.
Good, 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 good. Very good. Very good. It's important to have balance, right?
Yes,
Very good.
definitely, definitely. Is Sue coming on, or is she gonna sleep in too?
I know I would imagine she'll come. I would imagine she'll come. So
I like that fire behind you.
it's to match my vest, you see.
Oh yes, very nice.
It's just pure coincidence, but still. Fancy pants, or fancy vest, I guess. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't have any fancy pants. All my pants are very plain, but I have fancy vests and some fancy shirts,
that's all right.
but no fancy pants. Yeah. I don't know. I've never had. You get them. I mean, you can. I could probably buy pants to match this vest, actually, but I'm no desire, no interest in the fancy pants. I don't know why. It doesn't appeal to me in the least. But I do like the vests, and I have some shirts that are similar as well. Especially got them
Oh, there we go.
actually.
Yeah.
Talking about this with Kay. Kay changed her hairstyle. And it's a hairstyle that, well, when she first got it, it's a bit hard to manage. She's kind of figuring it out still, but it's very sophisticated. And it really it shows her moreness, and that's what we're talking about. That physical appearance can be used as a yes, so now as a lever to let you know in the mirror that there's more. And now you see that in yourself, and then it's like the vocabulary you try you live up to that, and you demonstrate that it is there. So it becomes this loop, a self-reinforcing loop. It can be a very powerful mechanism for some people. Just something to be aware of. Put to
Oh,
use.
definitely. I know. I don't know what
There
happened
you go. Thank you. Hello, Sue. Hello, Sue.
Good morning.
Hello.
in these
Good
past few
morning. Good
weeks.
morning. Good morning.
I I'm different in my throat. I'm different in my chest.
Mm,
I noticed it on Friday, and when again when I had gone to Chelsea, she noticed it too. That I've shed something. So
wow.
it's really interesting because I haven't done a whole lot,
Fantastic.
but I have. I may not have done anything in the typical sense, but I've done a lot of work on
Yeah.
the inside.
Yeah.
Avenue
And
of
it's showing.
Express. Avenue of Express.
Yes, yes, a lot of work is yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's nice to pay attention to those changes, to recognize them, affirm them, emphasize them. Yes, yes. I mean, your whole. I try not to comment on physical appearance, but just real quick, your entire face is showing a firmness, a solidity, and an affirmativeness. That's connected obviously to sobriety and integrity. and to decision making. It shows a more decisiveness, much more so. It shows a decisiveness, not more. So yeah, big deal.
Oh yeah.
Big deal. Very big deal. Robin
I
in
was
charge. Robin
I
in
was
charge. Robin.
yeah.
Yeah,
Remember that show,
yeah,
Charles in Charge?
yeah,
I
yeah.
was telling Sil though that
Charles in charge. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been
But
getting
it's Robin
harder
in
to get
charge.
up early in the morning on Thursdays now because everybody sleeps in. Like
Well,
something has shifted.
we can shift it because the session after yours hasn't been used, so we can shift it to 2 hours later. You want to do that?
Yes, can we do the 7 to 9?
We do that. Absolutely. We
Oh, yay.
do that. We do that. So brilliant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. All right. So from next week, we'll come 2 hours later than we are now, right?
All right, we'll do 7 o'clock. Oh my gosh, that works out awesome. Because then I get up at 6, get all
Ah,
ready for work, and then I head out the door. That's fabulous.
that makes me happy. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. Yeah,
Good.
yeah, yeah. You know, because they've never used the slot, so too bad. Just now.
All right, well then I just kind of slipped right in.
I
There
just
you
saw
go.
that at
There
St.
you go. There you
Louis
go.
Fitness Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend sent that to me last night, and it was a little unnerving.
Jesus.
Okay.
Wow.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
yeah. Wow. Wow. That's
Oh, what are we looking at? What happened?
one of our St. Luke's Hospital, one of the major hospitals here. Um, there is a sign up that says, attention, all persons over the age of 18 must be vaccinated to be able to use the fitness facility at St. Luke's Hospital.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. All right. You're moved on the calendar. So it's the same time as Monday. So we
Okay.
have, yeah. So that works out good. I mean, if you did want to, I do like, the split with the 2 days in between. But if your Thursdays, like you said, Monday and Thursday, very busy,
No,
if you
no, no,
did
no. It works. I
want
like
to
it.
do the Wednesday, you could do that. Okay. Okay. All
No,
right.
no. I
Perfect.
like the
Yeah, I mean, I just have the Wednesday slot open as well. So just in case.
nope, I like the Monday, Thursday. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
me too. That's my preference, or Tuesday, Friday, with this a split in between. But it can't work out that way for everyone. So, but when they're closer together, then I just treat them as, basically one session split into two, and you spend the rest of the time. You know what I mean? Not as two
Hmm.
separate sessions, just one. So it works out either way. Either way, it works out. All right, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I
Got
like that. I like that. Very good. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at?
Well, first off, yes, Sue, thank you very much. I got in touch with Dan, and I am going to meet him on Saturday,
What time? What time you going?
Oh, good.
3
Oh, good.
o'clock.
Oh, good, good, good. That's a magic gift. That makes me really happy. I
He,
always love it when opportunity comes, connectivity comes, and people jump on it and do something with it. I've seen people recommend other people now, oh, thank you, and then nothing happens. Oh, it drives me crazy. So I just love it when there is actual follow up. Fantastic,
Yeah,
fantastic.
we actually spoke to each other yesterday.
oh, good, good, good.
Great.
He said he
So,
loved her energy on the phone. And I said, I said, she's, very, very intuitive. I said, she's excited to learn. He goes, oh my God, for a change, finally. Because, a lot of people just don't take in this seeking of this knowledge. And he's be a really good mentor from a massage standpoint. He's top notch. He's been doing it a long time.
yeah, and it was interesting.
Who who can work like he does. Uh, you know, yeah.
That's why, and it's wonderful because we were both, well, I'm very busy during the week, so it worked out well for the two of us to get together on the weekend. Well, my weekends are free. Well, my weekends are usually free. So, as I said, everything is just falling into place, and it feels, and this was the interesting, it feels
Right.
right. And I shared this with my mom a little bit because, when I had spoken, and because you had even asked me about the other place, and it's funny because what was different about that, it felt right in possibility.
Mhm.
So for me, it was, ooh, possibility of more, possibility for me to change. possibility, but it never
Never came
it
to-
never felt it never actually felt comfortable. It felt, if this works, great, but not the smoothness of this. So it's really interesting.
Very cool. Yeah. And he's right down. Like when you come to my house, you get to the light, the intersection, and you turn
Uh-huh.
left, come to my house. You turn right, and he's right in that block at the end.
Oh, so
That's
then I
how
know exactly. Yeah, then I know exactly where that is.
down there in the summer when I get every week when I go for a massage. But um and just so you know, when you go down, I don't know if you've gone down there any further. The road kind of turns. There's a library.
Mm-hmm.
Gone to the library, you went a little too far. Okay.
Okay.
It's right before it. There's a parking lot between two buildings. You turn down there. There's the yoga center is on the outside. And then he's down like it's a big, big building. He's in the back of the building. So it's easy to utilize that free parking that's there. It's perfect.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
pull down in its diagonal parking down there, and then you just go around the building when you leave because you can't go out
Out that.
where you went in. But it's so simple. I mean, like I said, he's 2 blocks down from me. 2 blocks. It's awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Fabulous. Yes. So yes, that'll be Saturday. So I'll have stuff to share on Monday.
Yeah. What, you're going at 3:00? When you're done, if you have time, stop up. I want to hear if I'm home. I don't know what we're doing, but text me if
I'll
I'm
text you on my way out. Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Love
Double
this.
bonus.
Exactly.
Cool.
So now to also go a little bit further on that, so I had shared with Sil, and I don't know if I had shared with you, Sue, but I have been listening to this audio book by Carolyn Miss,
Mhm.
and the sacred language, I think it is, to change your life. Well, anyway, it is what is so fabulous about it. I love listening to her. I just love, she's just so straightforward. But I was sharing that it's almost as if it's the companion book to what's going on right now.
Ah,
Wow.
Because yesterday I was up to the point of she's now talking about specific words. And I mean, the first one was faith, but now she's up to trust. And I know the next one's going to be choice. And it's about how you use words and that they're sacred words. And it was just, I go, this is the companion. So, and was even more is that I go, okay, well, there's some things where I am more comfortable with the way we share here and we learn here, but I understand what she's saying there.
Nice.
Because the context for me is, but here's to go a little bit, I'm only pausing because had I not been here, I would not understand that part of where she's at there. So I'm able to understand where she's at because of my background here.
Right. You have the tools for that analysis and comprehension and insight and understanding. That's the key. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, because she doesn't have.
To that.
Yes.
But now, because you have the tools, you're able to connect to it. You're able to discern it, able to grasp it, to extract the value from it. Yeah.
Absolutely, because even with us, with the concepts, it's like, okay, what she's saying here is actually concepts. These are concepts. And then when she was speaking about something else, I went, oh, that's abstract. Oh my gosh. I was able to pull abstract from that. I go, now I'm understand. It's just, it's really, really neat. So
it's very cool. It's very cool. This is a major benefit from what we do. This finding of connectivity elsewhere, specialist connectivity, all the time. It's really cool to see that, something comes along, like Erica was Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, this really spoke to her and resonated and connected. It's a big deal. Just because, again, she had the tools in place to extract that. Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Okay, so I got myself up to slide.
All right, we're on module 1, session 3, making space for release. right? Making
Yes.
space, making space. All right. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
So this all started when I started this. It was right after Florida,
Yes. Yeah.
and so in the beginning, there's a lot more than as I did a couple of slides the other day. But the reason why there wasn't as much with the slides for the other day is because the slides themselves were speaking to me.
Mm.
And I stopped at the task on 16 because I had to. I needed to because I needed to spend a day.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that was neat. Okay. So making space for release, module 1, session 3, slide 2. I love the mystery and possibilities of being. I refuse to lock myself into anyone so as to not deprive myself the fun of exploring them all. My takeaway was possibility.
Mm.
Simple and easy possibility. I just saw the possibility in that.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you were talking about when you were connecting to that book that you're reading, right? It's a possibility of being. One more possibility of being.
Uh,
That's
and
it. So simple. That's right there.
one of the biggest things that yesterday that I heard or the other night was about impersonal and personal. And she was speaking about, with the universe, God, whatever. And I loved it because she was so matter of fact of if you think that the universe and God and everything is personal, it's it is impersonal because God is more. If you think God is this person that looks just like us, and no, it is an impersonal because is there for everybody. Everybody.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah.
so it brought to me that, like, so for me, it was bringing up the ego side of it,
Yeah.
how we make things personal. So,
Exactly. And also kind of a desperation and
yes,
that lack of reliance on self,
yes,
right?
yes,
So it's a bit of a lack of impeccability and eschewing of responsibility, really, you know. There's a big deal to it. Let's just go a little sideways on this just real quick in terms of conceptions of deity or influence source, whatever. And we look at it just a little bit differently. It's just, okay, just a different perspective that I'm sharing. And we look at it from a scientific point of view. The big mystery in science is dark matter. It's absolutely essential it's a terrible name, actually. It's just an energy, right? Right. But it's essential to everything. Without dark matter, everything implodes. But if we shift that dark matter rather to saying, oh, dark matter, they don't know what it is. I know what it is, scientists. Allow me. It's intent. That's it. All caps intent. Intent in this case has an intent that materializes everything. And that intent, as far as I can see, it's awareness, learning, growth, moreness. Right, all right, all of that. So now that intent materializes and it sets up this universe. Remember when we did awareness in way of impeccability? And our prime motivation is awareness, the pursuit, enhancement, development of awareness. And that the universe assists in this task. Because now we are in attunement with this underlying force in the universe. Scientifically, it's there. They can call it whatever they like. It's intent. And now, when you start to put this together with an impersonal God, which is Allah, by the way, there's no he to Allah. Allah is always just
right.
said Allah. There's no personal pronoun. I only do that in translations because they're so used to the Bible. So it's pretty cool. And from the whole patriarchal thing, it's just a manipulation deal. But when you really get back to original concepts of gods, you go back into the very, like Anu, for instance, which is one of the fun play of words for a new you. ANU is a very original prototype deity that everything else flowed from. They're all impersonal, so same thing. But if we see source or God or universe as intent, And that impersonality now, I don't care for your personal stuff. You align with it or you don't. End the story. Simple as that. It changes things quite profoundly, you know.
Yes.
It's magical. When you tap into it, you've got all that benefit. But it's the same thing as the current in the river. It's impersonal. I don't care for you. You can use it and float and get all sorts of wonderful things from it. But, you know, you got to, you know, still align to it, make a little bit of effort to stay in the current. But you don't care for your personal likes or dislikes, you know, it just keeps on going. So it's really useful to think of it in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Fabulous.
just
Absolutely
perspective.
fabulous.
Just
And
perspective.
you said something else in there. You said about attunement and alignment. And
Exactly.
I wanted to bring this up because it happened yesterday. In a small itty bitty way. I went to pick up my food, and as I was walking back, there was this woman holding her bags and walking with her cane, and I could
Oh,
see her going into the pharmacy. And
oh,
we came right at the same moment, so I was able to open the door for her in order for her to be able to not have to fumble. And immediately what came to mind was this was attunement and alignment. Here we were at the same time. I go, and then it was
wow.
even more interesting. I went, was this mine or was this hers? You know,
Yeah.
was she in this space where she goes, I have all this stuff. How am I going to open the door? And I was there. I was magically there to go, here you go.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was a neat
I
experience.
love that. I love that. You know, that I saw a video, just one of the Facebook videos, and it's just good stuff. Or maybe somebody even posted in the group. I don't know. But an old guy was going upstairs and he had a hand luggage, you know, one of the small hand luggage that you pull with the wheels. And he's just moving it up the steps and slowly climbing the steps. And this big guy, looks like a Mongol warrior, comes and he stops in front of the guy, you know, with his back to the old man. And he just reaches around and grabs the luggage, and the man puts him on his back and walks up the stairs with a whole long flight of stairs. Just like that, didn't say a word. He just stopped in front of him, reached back, picked him up, and off they went. You know,
That's
talk
cool.
about it's too fantastic. It's too brilliant. You know, never mind helping the guy carry his luggage. No, just take both. What the hell? Off you go. It's too fantastic. Without saying a word too. No fuss, no bother, nothing. And that's what I like. Just doing, direct doing. There's no need for a whole lot of stuff. Just do directly. Sometimes the obvious is obvious. Just do it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know why in all of this, the other, just sharing this, just brought this up too, is the other thing was speaking about was empowerment of
Oh,
self. And that was towards the beginning, and that really obviously resonated with me because that's what we do here, that
yes.
empowerment of self, which then, when we just to connect a little bit of the more, and I know we're on a sidetrack here, was when I was speaking
Oh,
with
shoot.
Dan, I was able to pull from that empowerment, that confidence in self, that courage, that it was different. Because now you're talking about the one task back here, the very last one that I did not finish, but now I can go back, was to, since I make space by deliberately being myself, by being real, spend a day being as different to myself as I can and see what happens. And how do others react and interact with me?
Wow.
And
Wow.
by sharing, and it was me,
Yeah.
but it was different than the way I usually am. And it was, wow, it is not so different, but it is.
Exactly.
And then the moreness that came from it. So it was really,
Oh,
yeah, it was
cool, cool,
neat.
cool, cool.
So,
I'm keen. I'm keen to get there when we get there. That's exciting. That's very exciting. Very exciting.
all right. So the next one was slide 3. Do the tasks and exercises before moving on. I must write out the typical expectations most have when it comes to interactions, particularly if they.
I have a
Uh,
problem they are looking to solve.
yeah. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I did not read my handwriting. What are my expectations of others in this regard from the perspective of his facilitator helper?
Mm.
Are these different to what I expect as an individual from non-clients? Typically, a client is oh, I answered these. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I must write out the typical expectations. Okay, so the expectations that typically a client is looking for me to fix them. I know I can't fix them, but I can definitely support them.
Yeah.
Are these different to what I expect as an individual from non-clients? No, it is not different. When I am with others, family or such, I am there to listen, hear, and support, and especially with myself. I must listen and hear and then proceed with what is best for me. No fixing, just experiencing and creating more. Resolution.
Yes. I just want to go back to that statement you said, I can't fix them, right? That can be taken in a bunch of different ways. It can be, technically, which isn't actually true, because technically we could actually fix somebody if we wanted to. But that statement can't is really more applicable from an ethical point of view. If you do fix them, you don't help them, because all you do is solve the particular problem now. When it reoccurs, as it inevitably will, in a different context, different environment, same problem, different shape, they're unable to resolve it for themselves. And so now they either have to come back to you or they get stuck. And this is why, fixing a particular problem doesn't really help. It's a short-term band-aid. And they also don't learn to be self-fixing. They don't learn to be self-competent, self-trusting, self-affirmative. So what are you really helping? You are actually making them less, not more of a person. Yeah? So when we say we can't fix, it's more of an ethical can't than a technical can't. Yeah? Just to be clear on that nuance point.
So I had a session yesterday, and of course, something new always occurs, but this was more with me versus them. Um, this client is an older client, and down deep, I have a feeling, again, because I don't know anything, but what seems to come up for me is just having a really hard time because the body's getting older and just can't do what it used to do. But that being said, where I'm coming from on this is she goes for like vestibular PT for the eyes. So she was really sharing with me yesterday in regards to how her eyes, if she goes slow, she can focus. If not, everything's all over the place. So when I'm working with her yesterday, I was trying to practice, am I hearing her? Am I supporting her in where she is asking me to support her?
Wow.
So, this went a little bit further than my usual of just listening to where the body's taking me. Okay, so I'm listening to where the body's taking me, but am I also listening to where she's sharing with me that she's feeling this uncomfortableness for herself? So I brought my intention as far as, well, let's go to the eyes and let's just see what's going on with the eyes. And what was presented to me, which I've never experienced, was this taking of the eyeball, the left side, not the right, the left side, of taking this eyeball out and washing it.
Wow.
And putting this eyeball back. And as this is going on, there's this piece of me that's going on going, okay, what is this? Because then I felt like Padre Pio with the hands, and I'm going, okay, I'm not sure what this is. I am not sure if this is going to help or not help. And as this is all going through me, what's also going is, but does it matter?
Exactly.
This is what's being presented.
Exactly.
This is what you're going to play with. And if it helps, great. And if it doesn't, does it matter?
Exactly.
Because this is what's being presented to me. So it was very, very interesting. Now, it'll be interesting to see the next time we meet. If there was a difference, I don't know, but again, that was purely all shown to me and something for me to work through.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't matter why. A lot of times we're always so interested to know why and what's just, is it useful? Is it valuable? There you go. Or we can say, I don't know, but since this is being presented to me so clearly, it's so
Oh,
unusual, so anomalous. How can I not respond to this? How can I just not do my best and impeccably give it my full attention? It's like, duh. Yes,
yes,
like
it
that
was
guy who picking up the old guy. Duh. Just, there you go. Just do it. Just do it. Yeah. No fuss, no bother, no explanations, no nothing. It's just obvious. Just do. So that's quite fantastic. So you. That's interesting. That whether it was the left eye, was it her left eye or does it
it was her left
her
eye.
left? Yeah, yeah. Because for me, it's on the right eye. My left eye is the strong one, which is rather unusual. It's kind of opposite eye dominance. Yeah.
Well,
So
and
my
here's
right
the
eye
thing,
is my
when I
left.
work, I notice a lot of time I'm what I feel is the opposite of the person. So I just trust it, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it
Just
was
now she's a lot in the same, a lot of the energy stuff, it's all cross and opposite. Well, of course, your right
right.
brain controls the left part of the body, but still,
So
there's more opposites involved than just that. So that's very interesting, very interesting.
it was very that was a new experience for me. So
Yeah.
we will
Wow,
have to.
very cool, very exciting. So make a note, obviously, from your housekeeping point of view to follow up, even if she doesn't come back, just maybe call her and say, I'm keen to know about the eye. Can you tell me anything? How's it going? Try not to cue it too much. Just want to follow up. Yeah. So you get an unbiased feedback, because if you ask too directly, then it's obvious you're implying that you want feedback on the eye
Right.
and it can cue a distortion. So,
All right. Um, number 4. I've
very,
already created space with my emphasized appreciation through my greeting and welcome. Further, I'm in capital H hearing mode, which creates space. I need to create a specific space, one for release. I don't necessarily mean emotional release, although it certainly can and will be that. More importantly, I want to create space for release from convention, usual, supposed to, should, and all manner of other restrictions and limitations of behavior. I am creating space to repurpose expectations.
Say. Mm-hmm.
My takeaway on this one was I believe the universe has provided me my next steps and experiences. Dad in Florida, new clients, Patrick on a trip. Oh, what will I become more aware of? I felt like a Dr. Seuss thing. It's like, oh, what will I become more aware of? So,
yes. So on that last paragraph there, more importantly, we want to create space for release from convention, usual, supposed to, should, and all manner of other restrictions and limitations of behavior. We make space for popping out eyeballs and washing them.
We were just talking about, yeah.
You did.
yeah,
You did. You've made space in your life for moreness to come. And moreness is by definition what we aren't familiar with, what we don't know. But it's also magical, which is exactly, eye popping out and washing it. That's pretty moreness to me and magical to me.
yeah, because even more on that now. I know I had put out the intent while I was working with her. What does Christina need? Now, I've done this many, 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 many times,
Yeah.
but I've never 100% gone there.
Yes, you did it with clarity of intent and with an earnestness. You asked that question with earnest sincerity, with depth. You asked it not as a question of an answer for knowledge, but as an intent to have it come to you. Remember, we were talking about things coming to you, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. See, and it came to you. You go. You had no idea ahead of time. You made space. Remember, we made notes in your notes. We said, see you next session. See you next session. Things coming to you. That's it. Now you put this together. You're making space for release from convention, from should, from momentum, from continuity. That's it. You're making space for moreness, newness to come into being. And you're open to it. You didn't freak out. What's this? I have no clue. And shut it down. It's, the old type of thing. So no, you are open to it. You're open to it. Yeah, made space for magic, moreness.
And to go an itty bitty further with it, because that was so anomalous in a way for me, I tried to do it on the right side. And no.
Yes. Like my two eyes, I would imagine just from my eyes, they are so vastly different. I'd say, yes, feel free to watch my right eye, but my left one, no, absolutely not. And I'm inverted.
Yes.
This is my left eye. My thing is mirrored, so it looks right to you, but this is my actual left eye. This is the weak one on the right. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Tried to do the right eye.
It wouldn't let me.
It wouldn't let you do it.
It wouldn't let me. I was able to be with the right eye, but it wouldn't let me.
Pick it up as
That's
No.
good. That's good.
So it was, but that was also in that whole moment of that session. That was a part of me. Okay, let's see what this, going a little bit further, but not further from an ego. It really was. It was from a exploratory.
Yeah. Confirmation.
Yes. That okay, you have to test this to see if this and it was
that's fantastic.
Very grateful for the experience.
What about your trust? What about your trust?
I trusted it. That's part of where I just said, okay, this is where we're going. I'm just going to have to trust this, that what I'm seeing is what's there. And there was also confidence now that, wow, here we go with the more. Because there had to be confidence enough in self to follow through with that. Where is now saying this out loud, if I go deeper into what I would have done, I would have jumped away from that. And I would never have proceeded with actually working there and then trying and testing on the other side. That would have freaked me out, and I would have had nervous butterflies in my stomach, and I would have walked away from it, and then I would have been in my head. And this was an awe. This was 100 capital T trust, capital F in follow through.
Yes.
And also the word capital G gift.
Yes.
So, yes.
And one more, I would say, capital S space.
Yes.
You have made space for moreness.
Yes.
Because I'm looking for, particularly this particular slide that we're on now, making space for release. It's not just emotional release. Yes, that obviously for the client or participant, that's it. But also we want to make space for release from more things. A release from should, a release from must be, a release from convention that says, but such stuff doesn't happen. Limitations of thinking, of mind, all of this stuff. You made space. So capital S space for moreness. That's absolutely a big deal. Absolutely a big deal. Yeah. Sue and I were talking about this the other day. So I don't know when it is. My time is very weird, Sue. It feels like it was a long time ago, but I think it's probably yesterday. Just this understanding, that humility, that we know what we know is limited, which also means that I'm wrong very often. So it's really useful to every now and then kind of throw out everything, or just keep in the back of your mind that, you know what, I might be wrong about stuff. Yeah. So we test, we check, we always reassess, reaffirm. But also, this implies that when I do perceive and what does come to me, I say, okay, I see a whole range of things here. This has a high probability, but also I keep in mind there is that low probability chance that I might also be wrong, which forces me to reassess and to check and recheck, and not just to accept things blindly, because being wrong, I mean here in my conventional perceptions, right? When we step out, we make space, and our humility really comes into it, then more that's outside of what we know can come into it, like the eyeball that needs to be washed, pop out and wash. See what I mean? That's kind of, if you assume what you know is right, it blocks you from seeing the smallness, which is so different to what you know. It's by implication wrong. See, but if you open up, make space for being wrong, you get stuff which isn't wrong in itself, but it's just wrong by comparison. And it isn't actually wrong, but you get to see moreness. And of course, sometimes we are mistaken, but we don't get caught up in right or wrong. We just, okay, I knew stuff, and now there's more to know. End of story, right? But it's that openness to this idea that we may not know, we may not see, we may be unaware. Yeah, make space, make space. Very cool stuff.
Making space for receptivity,
Exactly,
whatever it is,
exactly.
Yeah.
showing you it's something different, But again, when we think we know
Perfect.
it all, we think we know all the techniques and, all the protocols that are involved, and it shuts us down because it limits you terribly. And you have that gift to open yourself up to hear and see, and just know that, hey, sometimes it's gonna shift me off of it or say no, and it's okay. It's okay. It's
Exactly,
actually a
exactly,
good thing.
exactly.
Very,
Very cool stuff.
very
Very
cool,
cool.
connection with that client.
No, no. And how did she leave from the session?
She definitely did not get up as wobbly as she normally does, but she's one of my clients that she just loves yoga. She absolutely loves yoga, but she's more the technical.
All right, right.
She's in her mid 80s, and as I said, I love her dearly. So right away, because we were sharing about how much I do not like downward dog.
Interesting.
Yes, and so that was what was on her mind. As soon as she got off the table, she was right back to downward dog with me. So
Interesting.
and it was fabulous because
Uh,
okay, so let's talk about. You want to talk about downward dog? You want to
Interesting.
share
Now,
about that?
if
Then that's what we'll
she
talk about.
brings it up, if she brings it up regularly, there may be something more there behind why downward dog is not something she likes.
No, me. I don't like downward dog.
Oh, you.
So
Oh,
so she's trying to, well, give me all these things. So we shared how I'm going to walk around like a bear on the ground.
yeah.
So I'm going to do
And
bear walk. But yes, she was concerned about me and downward dog. So
so she's sensing there's something more for you with downward dog.
exactly. So
Mirror
Interesting.
somewhere.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Associations often, they can. It's not some necessarily a yoga thing. It can be a lots of other stuff. I mean, I can imagine 100 different reasons why downward dog not a cool posture for women. So I know. Yeah.
All
Why
right.
they have a negative
Well, I
association.
know I like puppy. It has something to do with the arms. For me, it is
Oh,
definitely that's, as we were sharing more yesterday, it was interesting because now think about the session was now turned on me
Mhm.
because, well, why don't you like it? So I had to go a little further. And well, for me, it's about the arms. So, which is, now when
interesting.
we get into massage, I have to use massage arms and hands. So that's also why I'm having a little bit of apprehension. So it's all coming into play.
So what is it about your arms?
They're not
What
strong enough.
they're not strong enough. Okay. They
Yeah.
actually
So are you doing a couple of push-ups every day now?
No,
are.
no, no. But see, I'm not doing things to eat. So I'm I am aware of what I'm not doing. I am aware of what I should be doing, and I'm working towards what I can
One,
do.
one, just one, just one.
So
Just start with one push-up. That's it. And then just, it's after some time you do two and then three, and then you don't need to do many push-ups. 5 or 10 a day would probably be more than enough to give you that extra arm strength that you want for the massage. Plus the massage itself gonna really build the arm strength. Yeah.
which Sue, I saw your video on Jocelyn's, and that gave me all right, come on, Rob, you can do this. So
It was inspirational. That
it
video
was
is very inspirational.
inspirational. Yes.
Yes,
I said the
So
only thing did you see my comment? I said that the only thing I need improvement on is a new bra.
What a bra.
My boobs are going to like Jesus, ready to get slapped in the
But still, the power. You see that video was very inspirational. It's really cool.
yeah, it did. There was a big, well-known bodybuilder woman that commented on there, and she said
Wow.
she wrote this huge, long thing that how inspirational.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. I
burning
didn't see that.
450 calories in 15 minutes is no easy feat,
Yeah.
to accomplish. And she
Yeah.
said, you open the book up or you inspire many or something. It was very nice.
Unless she did mention it somewhere, but what I find just from what you're saying, I'm assuming she didn't bring age into it because she doesn't really know.
No, it was said on there that I was only a couple months away from being 64.
Wow.
I'll find it and read her exact words. It was really, really nice. And then to find out that she was some big bodybuilding,
Wow. Wow. I mean, to me, that's impressive at any age, never mind yours, And
what's
but
that?
again, you know what? I do find something though. And the reason I bring this in is because this has also come up with Donna. And Donna feels she's getting younger. And in the little time that I've known Donna, you can really feel it in her energy. I do feel that it's to break away from this. This is good for your age. Nonsense. It's just good. End of story. To take out that for your age, not have it as an associative condition. I think we so entrench this that we
yeah.
come to believe it. Again, it's now related to what we are talking about. Making space for release from should, from convention, from usual. Why? Look at what you're doing. There's no usual, there's no convention, there's no should. Same thing with Donna. That in her jazzercise that she does. I mean, she's a different person. She's a different generation. But again, it doesn't matter. Do what you want to do, and don't have age be a factor. It's a negative limitation that we want to unhook for. We want to make space for impossibility, right? There you go. For many people, what Sue did is an impossibility. Well, there you go. It's possible. Throw out your ideas. Change. Say, oh, age is not a factor anymore. No, it isn't. There you go. Okay, throw it out. No,
Yeah, she wrote, this is incredible at Susan Laurie. You just fanned my flame as I know you'll impact anyone else who is in the exact same, anyone else in the exact same seeing this as well. I'm about to take a page out of your book. She says 450 calories in 15 minutes. Amazing. She said, absolutely anything is possible when you put your mind to it, and you further proved it with your example of heart and dedication. Profoundly impressive. You go, girl. So she didn't mention age, but
right.
it was mentioned on my.
Yeah. Still, I mean, I just got the feeling from what you were saying that this was impressive in its own right. And that's same for me. I thought it was impressive for anybody. I mean, no difference. The age was no difference because the movement, the actions. If you just look at the video, because I didn't, I was focused on the video. The actions, you can see the intensity, the power, and the focus, the concentration, the effort put into that. And this is impressive. This is just fantastic. And age has nothing to do with it. So I love that. Yes, it is a factor, but I want to try, for me especially, and for everybody, to unhook from such conventional thinking. It's limiting. It's limiting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Hello, Bo. Yes. Just loving you, Bill. That's all. Just enjoying you, appreciating you. So
Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Always enjoy those tender kisses. Just a joy to observe. Right, Robin?
Absolutely.
Magic, magic. See, simple things. Magic, magic. Never take those little things for granted. Never, ever, ever. Appreciate them every day as if they were the first and newest time. It's magic every time. Yeah, yeah.
So, have
Just to
you
know.
ever heard of yes theory, seek
Yes,
discomfort?
theory.
Yes theory. What two?
Well,
I
it's kind of
Okay.
replacement philosophy. It sort of sounds like just from the word, the name. If
Okay.
I extrapolate, it's very much similar to replacement, right? Whereas
Yes.
fixed logic is no theory. So yeah.
Well, yes theory slash seek discomfort are these gentlemen. I guess they started on YouTube, whatever. Anyway, Patrick has been listening and following them for years. And he introduced me to them because they are about living outside your comfort zone, doing things that you think are impossible for yourself. And that's kind of Patrick. So when Patrick got his tattoo, his very first tattoo, it was seek discomfort because that's what he lives by. And
Cool.
um, they're just, their mottos and different things are really fabulous. I mean, some of their stuff is pretty crazy too. But anyway, after going into work, speaking to Dan, I get this text from Patrick. And he goes, "You're not going to believe this, but OU is hosting Yes
ah,
Theory."
I, no kidding. No kidding.
So he goes, "I just saw a flyer." So I was like, "You should reach out to them." So he did. I don't know if anything's going to come of it, but he's definitely going to follow it and do it. But it was just these magical moments that happened because OU hosting Yes Theory and something that Patrick follows and is passionate about, it was just fabulous. So,
Wow.
Most excellent. Most excellent.
all right. Number 5. The release I'm talking about is a release from self, from habit, and from typical behavior. My release is a release into moreness. This
Mm,
release is essential if the client or anyone I am to interact with in a moreness context is to stretch beyond where they are at. If they are not already in a moreness space, if they are, well, there is always more.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
takeaway was yes, this is what I am receiving from the universe. My gifts have arrived and just in time. And at this time, it was Florida, habit, behavior, clients release from self and behavior, moreness, so much more.
Very cool.
And I can even just spin that even with yesterday, so much more. And choosing, because I was going to go to yoga last night, and Kevin just came home from his business trip. And he said, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Oh, I have yoga." And I'm bringing this up because of choice. So there was a part of me that felt like, should I go? Shouldn't I go? And I got home, and the dogs needed food.
Mm.
So I ixnayed everything, and I went and got the dogs food, and then I was home with Kevin, and we got to hang out together. So it
Ah, brilliant.
and I'm just sharing this because this is about that more about
Making
that
space.
release from self, that release from typical behavior, that release from habit.
Yes, yes.
That feeling that you put on yourself, well, I should and I have to, and it's like, no, you don't. You really have to sit with
Yeah,
what's best for me.
yeah, yeah. Ah, brilliant, 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 brilliant. Precious time, precious time. Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, slide 6 was, since I am not doing the usual, since I am not the usual, making space for release from usuals, perceptions, attitudes, mindsets, behaviors, intents, and more is most necessary.
Mm,
Making a new space is critical to get me out of an old space, especially when that space is not one where that space is where I wish to be. I make space for replacement. And my takeaway was that here we go, more on replacement.
Yes, yes. Space, the final frontier, right? And that introduction for Star Trek, right? And
Yes.
when we think of space in this sense, so that they're exploring, that was their mission, to explore space, strange new worlds. That's exactly where we are at. We are adventuring into moreness. We are making space, release from conventionality, should, habit, all the stuff to create the space that we are venturing into as explorers. What a magical thing. What a magical thing. Yes.
Yes, because just to go a bit further on that choice last night, that was a bit of me playing on replacement. Well, what if I don't go? What will, because there are times where for me at least anyway, where I would make the choice and go, oh, I really should have done that.
Yeah.
And this was a decision, a choice that this worked.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have known if it worked if I didn't try it. And I was coming from a place of exploration versus feeling have to.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. So a key element here in this, when you look at this from a, because it could be I wanted to go, I needed to go, and well, I kind of was squirming out of it. And at the same token, I wanted to go, but I needed to not go. So how do you know the difference? Trust your conscience. Be impeccable. Trust your conscience. Make it an issue of conscience, and then you'll know one way or the other very clearly, right? You'll know when you kind of like, yeah, I really do need to go, but I'm kind of trying to squirm out of it and find a reason. I'm just being lazy and indolent and whatever, right? Or to say, wow, okay, time with Kevin or whatever, this is more important for the dogs. So it gives you that ability to make that assessment. Look at it from a point of impeccability, thoroughly, scrupulously, set aside emotions and feelings, look at it from a point of conscience, as a point of functionality, usefulness, value, appropriateness, attunement, alignment, bring everything into the picture. And the decision's pretty easy, but that singular point of conscience makes it easy to decide one way or the other.
But how would I have known it was
Did you
actually my
feel right
conscious?
about staying at home? Did you feel right about taking care of the dogs? Did you feel right about being
Yes.
with Kevin? And did it feel right not going?
Yes.
There you go. That's what I mean. Simple. Simple. And those times where you kind of, brushed it off, and you were just didn't like, went in the mood to go. And did you feel right about that, or did you feel a little guilty that you didn't go? See? It's very simple. It's very, very simple. We have this decision-making compass. It's very simple compass. This is impeccability. To never, ever ignore that compass. Never. Because it takes energy. That little bit of guilt, it gnaws away, it eats at us. And it tells you, oh, you crappy, you're not disciplined, you can't follow through, blah, blah, blah. Right? So it eats at you. It's a cancer. But when you go and you always do what you feel right, you always feel positive, you always feel happy, you always feel affirmed. And it's like that guy coming and picking him up. No fuss, no bother, you just do. End of story. Whatever it is, you just do. Whether it's unconventional or not, makes no difference. It looks weird, looks funny, doesn't make it. You just do. It's fantastic. Fantastic. Simple, 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 simple.
Number 7 was simply making space is a profound exercise of emphasis.
Yes, exactly. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. And look at this. When we say profound emphasis, we are emphasizing kind of an inverse, as it were, when we are creating space and making space, right? Typically, when we emphasize, we're emphasizing on a something, but look like on my picture behind, yes? Lots of space there. When you emphasize on the space part, not on the fire part, it's very different, no?
Mm-hmm.
So we are deliberately saying whatever is front and center, what's kind of in my face, my usual, this I'm going to set aside and emphasize on a not. And in that not, I'm going to create a moreness and open things up for moreness. So it's a little different to what we usually do. So it's very cool. That's why it's a profound emphasis, right? We are emphasizing what isn't in our face. We are emphasizing what's hidden, what's unknown, what's moreness. Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yes.
Yeah, very cool, very cool, very cool. How was your evening with Kevin, by the way? I'm always just, love things like that. So, I don't know.
Oh, it was good. It was good. I mean, we both went to sleep early, which we both needed, but it, I was definitely happy with my choice. Hello, Oliver. And he just peeked his head in to say hello.
I missed him. I missed him. Hello, Oliver. Very cool.
Um, and Macy came in.
And the dogs are chill. The dogs are chill, which is nice to see.
Yes, well, I also gave Macy a little bit of a, so at this new place that we go to, it's called a calming cookie, and it
Good
works.
people.
So every once in a while, I just give Macy a little calming cookie.
Yeah, you said about those the other day.
Yeah, so it worked. Um, all right, number 8. I'm just going to read it off of here because I answered it along with it. So, since I am making space for another, client or not, to not be interacting with me from the usuals of convention, how will do I, make sure their expectations are shifted coming into the interaction? I welcome the client. I center myself by doing a self check. Pause, zooming out, awareness, and shift perspective if necessary. What do I do which is different in the context of attitude, mindset, awareness, mood, etc.? For me, this is peace of being. It is my mental inner check of my dictionary of power, those concepts that I know for me and by me. As I am deliberately checking myself, this allows me to again shift as appropriate. What are my expectations of the other? None. But as I write this, I understand that I may have preconceived expectations that must be evaluated, validated, and then released by me. I can only do this by giving myself space and time prior to a session. This must be practiced by me regularly because my expectations of another can come without preparation. But if I continually hone my skills as a spirit warrior, I know and trust they will appear as presented by each experience.
Yes.
How
Yes.
much are typical and usual? Always expect the unexpected.
There you go.
Surprise gifts. Deliberate awareness of being is needed to change my expectations and thus change the space I make. No, I do not think expectations of moreness can be a problem. But, big but, I must be patient for self and others while more may not be available at any specific time, and only enough is really available.
Who? I'm just keen to hear from you, Sue.
It's just so solid, which is I hear a very different Robin from this just falling into a space that just allowing it instead of pushing. It's like swimming upstream or pushing the river.
Yes.
Let that go. You let that go. Expect the unexpected. Open up the doors and let in what needs to come in. Yeah, and even your voice in saying it is so grounded. It's so full. Yeah, nice work. Well,
So could we say, Sue, that what you're focusing in one aspect of it, or what you're appreciating, what you're emphasizing, is kind of a trust of vulnerability.
sure, sure.
It's something that I've struggled with. We were talking about this, right? In terms of trusting the mourners to come, just come to me, come out of me. What's necessary, what's appropriate. that was I felt very vulnerable, not being able to have all of what I know, all of what I've put down, and all the stuff that I've understood, not having it readily on command. That made me feel vulnerable because I don't have it at my fingertips. So we were talking about this yesterday. When I go into a session, I don't know what I'm going to say. I have no idea. And I feel unprepared. I feel like I'm winging it. But of course, well, I used to. I don't anymore now. I've learned over time to absolutely trust that what's going to come will come. And this has been a big thing for me, because my ethics before, I would not have been able to do this. Initially, I really struggled to be able to do what the whole courses and the sessions and everything, because I always wanted to have this. Hey, you're a participant, you're a client. I need to have value. I need to have stuff to give you. I need to know what I'm doing. But I do know what I'm doing because I understand it. I don't know what I'm doing in the contents of having all of that information, that knowledge, that understanding at my fingertips. It's not possible. It's too much. So I have to trust it to come as appropriate. This took a while. So I was vulnerable there for a while, always kind of, figuring it out and kind of stressing a bit about it. But over time, I just, well, okay, you got through that, you managed, and stuff came. And so I looked backwards and said, well, I've done this so many times. It always comes, it always comes, it always comes. Okay, I can trust it. Right. So,
Yeah. And when you trust that vulnerability, it takes you out of fix it mode. Absolutely.
exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
a big thing to it's inherent. It's just a natural thing. I don't care if you're a therapist or a mom or a teenage, you want to fix things and make them better. And it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's appropriately helping someone.
Exactly. And that trust of vulnerability shifts to just trust, and it shifts to a trust in our ability to be appropriate
Mm-hmm.
and to recognize the unknown, the more, the unusual, the different as appropriate. To recognize popped out eyeballs need washing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a very powerful metaphor for me. I'm not going to forget that from a point of, difference. It's such a cool mnemonic, you know what I mean? It's not the thing itself necessarily, Robin. I'm using it as a remembrance device, right? To represent, figuratively, it represents something out of the usual, a moreness that came, right? Eyeball popped out, you recognized appropriately. I got to wash it. It's like, wow, okay. So just as a reference, we can say, hey, you know what? We want to recognize our sense of appropriateness. We trust it to recognize what is appropriate, even when it is an eyeball popping out that needs to wash. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
They said thank you.
Not to appreciate more.
No, that was different.
Mm-hmm. What?
Right. So I'm saying your sense of sorry, Sue. Just wanted to connect it. It's your sense, your ability to recognize appropriateness even when unusual, even when out of the ordinary. That's what enabled you to be appropriate. Your ability to recognize appropriateness and act on it. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Say again, Sue.
In that unusual appropriateness that you did with the eyeball washing, did you share that with the client, what you were
No.
doing? No.
No, she was just laying there and I was in awe.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
And but she's
appropriateness determines whether you share or not.
yes, because with this particular client, that would not be appropriate.
There you go.
Yes, that's where we go into the yoga. I have to speak her language.
Yeah.
That's learned, that so, but I know that with all of you, I can share that experience.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
All right.
Yeah, it's why the
I have another
whole A
experience.
plus. Oh, sorry, I'll share with you. I'm just saying appropriateness. It's why it's at the apex of everything. It all follows from there. It all goes back to appropriateness. So, go
And,
ahead, go ahead.
and even in the abstract of that washing of that eyeball, no, it may not be appropriate for certain people to say, hey, I just popped your eyeball out and I washed it out.
Right.
jump off that table, whether they're dressed or not, and out the door they'd go. But what was I going to say? But it's the metaphor in there can really be, or just to ask them as you're washing it, is there something you're not seeing clearly, or is there something that's in your way? So there can be an appropriate question to ask without divulging this freakazoid that they might view it as. Uh, you know,
Ah,
Probably was something that she is having trouble seeing, and from a female standpoint, because it was on her left
I
side.
mean, that's just our science side, our scientific side.
Sure.
Likes to know, just likes to understand why. Again, it is something that is important. We like to know, but I do want to emphasize, just from attunement point of view, that so often we get asked to do things and we have no clue what's going to come of it. None, zero. And here we have to trust, absolutely trust, and say, I do without agenda. That's it. And learn to act without agenda. Because sometimes we're just being asked by the universe to be a good little cog and do whatever it is. And you have no clue what's coming. We trust that it's going to turn out good. Right now, from personal experience, of years later, decades later, sometimes like, oh, I get it now. I see, right? But there are still some things which are open and I may never know. And I'm okay with that because I've seen enough times when I do act in attunement that there is a positive. Sometimes you see it right away, sometimes a little later. But that ability to act without agenda, it's an incredibly powerful ability when it comes to attunement. Necessary. It's very necessary. Yeah.
i-
Like you
in-
just saw this. It seemed appropriate. You acted. That's it. You didn't know for sure it was going to.
but now to go back, wow, it's amazing how when you start sharing and exploring more. So,
Yes.
so now to rewind a bit, what I did for the first time with this client, which I don't normally do with her. So, Sue, this goes back to that, did you share that with her? Is I had, her energy felt like a C at the top. So she was like a little curved. I never speak like that with her. And it came out.
Mhm.
And of course, she did not understand it. And part of me went, oh, this is not the client.
I have to
This is
explain.
not appropriate for her because it's not. So I brought it back. And it was after that where, I guess awareness, zooming out, pausing, recognizing, mm, not appropriate for this particular client from an understanding point of view. And then that's when the clarity came with the eyeball.
Mhm.
So I didn't push it. I didn't apologize for it.
Mhm.
I just went, whoops.
Mhm.
I spoke a little too soon or a little.
Humility. Yeah.
Didn't make a fuss out of it. Didn't put attention and emphasis on it. In other words, right?
Yeah.
I just brought it back and but it brought it
Perfect.
back on the inside, like,
No.
okay. But again, in the past, I would have been in a session and I would have been holding on to that. So here we would have been in a session
Thinking,
and I would have been in that immersion bubble
Go.
and I
There you
just
go.
went, whoops,
yeah,
okay,
No.
let's move on.
good.
Perfect. Appropriateness. Once
you
again.
lose the present, thinking, I shouldn't have said that, and oh my God, what now? How do I back out of that? And so at that moment, you've just removed yourself from being with that person and making.
Exactly. Exactly. In other words,
Yes.
attention management.
Mhm.
Yes.
Very important. Like Sue's saying. Well, good point, Sue. Great point.
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to share because it just keeps popping in my head. I don't know whether it's appropriate or not. I don't know whether it's ego or not, but
Everything is appropriate to share. Yeah.
I'm going to share another session I had that I shifted in.
Mm.
So I have this client that comes every so often, and she's pretty much more of a Reiki client.
Mhm.
Mm.
And we were sharing, and I placed my hands on her back, and I felt what I have felt before on others. but I've always been afraid of. And that was, I felt like there was a knife in her back.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
that, somebody was stabbing her a knife in her back. And in the past, and I'm doing this
Wow.
dually, because in the past, what I would have done is I would have freaked out. I would have gotten scared. I wouldn't have known what to do. I knew what I should do, but didn't do. And again, this goes back to that immersion bubble. I would have gotten caught inside. And this was the first time where I paused. I said, I've been here before. I have felt this before. What are you going to do with this now? Are you going to react and be afraid like you've done before, or are you going to trust? And I mean, that word trust came up.
Yeah.
And I literally trusted. I kept giving my words straight up to God, to light. And I just said, and I took this knife out and said, this does not belong. Nothing belongs. Like, I don't even know what I said, because it was just all, and this was all going on the inside. And when I tell you, after it was done, I was going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I trusted it and I did it. I went there. I stayed in the light. I just, whatever. I said I wasn't going to be doing this Reiki stuff, whatever, but that's a gift that I guess, gift, I don't even know. It's
Yeah,
a
it's a gift.
knowing that I've been given. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it appropriately. I'm not going to be afraid of it, because I trust in all that's around me. And I have to tell you, the person on the table, and with her, I was able to share. I didn't share how I was going on the inside. I just shared, this is what I'm feeling, which she completely understood. And the whole, when I tell you, light energy in the room.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
And it's fascinating for me, because again, I have been here before where there has been heaviness afterwards with me,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't trust. I didn't trust. And all there was this trust. And I'm going, am I really feeling what I'm feeling? And I had to go to, it doesn't matter. It's almost like the eyeball. It doesn't matter what, this is just what's being shown to me. This is the feeling that I'm having. So if you trust, it doesn't matter what you're being shown. You just have to trust it. So this was now, I guess, this eyeball thing is now the second.
Mm. Mm.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Yeah, and there you appropriately shared with that appropriate client.
Yes, exactly.
Good at,
And what did the client have to say about it?
Felt like a million bucks. And after that, it was almost as if the session was over. It was okay. I think we're
Done.
pretty done here. Yes.
Oh,
And she
fantastic.
felt the same, that no more needs to be done here. And this was really for me about trust of self.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, trust of self. Yeah.
I trusted, getting a little emotional. I trusted what I received. I responded appropriately, and no fear,
Yes. Yes. No
because it was
unnecessary doubt.
100% trust in more.
There you go. Recognize your
Also,
trust in more. How
right.
nice.
Not just trust in more, but trust in appropriateness. Trust that you are recognizing the obvious.
I wanted to, it took courage,
Mm-hmm.
because I had been there before. I've had this experience before. And it was one of those, uh-oh, I've been here before, and now what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had such confidence in myself. There was such empowerment that you, if you trust, you can do this. And so I proceeded. I proceeded with pure giving it to more than me.
Nice.
So, and then look at this beautiful event that happened yesterday. So, you know,
There you
yeah,
go. And really, when you now look at it in retrospect, having shared in it, the only thing that caused the doubt, really, the only thing is that it was unusual.
Mhm.
Remove the unusualness, and it's like, well, duh, well, duh, well, duh. It's a knife. You take it. It's like, well, duh. Everything was a duh once you remove this kind
yes,
of toxicity of unusualness, right? When you make space for stuff outside of our knowledge, it was just unusual. It's just unknown. That's the only thing that caused doubt. Remove that. Now that it's a bit more familiar, it's like, well, duh. What else were you going to do?
because now to go a little bit further on that, it was, and if that's not what was there, does it really matter?
Exactly.
That's what was being shown to me. So just take it out and remove it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
What was your intent?
Mhm. Mhm.
What is the intent here? The intent of the entire situation, not just your intent, client's intent, the circumstantial intent,
Mhm.
intent
Well,
for improvement, intent for healing, intent for betterness. Yes,
yes.
there you go. You align yourself to the intent, and there you go. Things happen. Very simple.
Mhm. Let me ask you something. After talking about these couple clients and different things today, do you still believe you made a statement in the very beginning about the universe and God not being personal? Do you
Mhm.
still believe that what the universe has brought you is impersonal? Do you still believe that?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's not about me.
Yeah.
Or is it? How is it not about you?
It is about me to learn, but it's not about me. I see where you're going with this, or I think I do. Um, it's for me, but not about me.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
does that make it personal or impersonal if it's for?
No, for me, for my understanding is no. It's for me to learn, but it's up. If I make it personal, then I'm going to make it about me, and it's not
Exactly.
about me.
Mhm.
Mm.
I can't even go there, Sue. I can't even make it about. Wow, I can't even go there anymore.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Fantastic. This is the
That's
discernment here.
weird.
It's how we understand language and the context in which we apply this. So, in one context, yes, it can be intensely personal, can be, but in a different context, it's not. So, it all
Yes.
depends where we relate to it from, which connectivity. And it's very potent to see it in that bigger picture. Forces are happening. You are in the time and the space to align yourself with those forces and do. In that sense, it's not personal. But in another sense, the fact that this was a magical gift for you, or to you, not for you, but to you. Now it's you extracting the magic. Yes, it's personal in that sense. It's very, very personal. But it's like the river again. That force, I get magic out of it. It took me to magic places and new lands and all sorts of stuff. The river doesn't care for me personally, but yet I get personal value out of aligning with the river. So
Yeah.
it's
My
both. Very
my
cool.
experiences are personal
Mhm.
Ah, ah, ah,
because only I can experience them.
exactly, exactly.
Mm.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
But they're not personal. It's really
Yeah, and I think that it's all based around the conception of contextuality. You know,
Exactly.
yes.
it's
Contextual perception. Exactly. Exactly.
Because you know what? In the past, before everything that I'm understanding, and I guess because I'm growing, I very much would have thought it was personal. Why are you doing this to me? And that's kind of where all this, like, nobody's doing anything to me. And so that's why it's so hard. I can't even go there because I'm not there anymore. But when, especially when those little immersions come, which are still fabulous that they come. So I love that they're question marks too, because there should always be a question mark in order to know the difference between the two. So as soon as that immersion, it's like, oh, here we go. It's becoming personal, and it's to get myself out of that. Yes. So yeah,
Very
that's a
cool.
really neat
Very cool.
question.
Cool, Sue. Very cool. Very cool. And when we look at this from a point of intent, I can align myself with the intent and leverage intent to get something personal out of it. But still, I have to respect the intent itself. I can't basically take that river and make it, flow upstream.
Right.
Mhm.
Intent is going to do what intent's going to do. I can tap into it, leverage it, attune to it, align with it, get all sorts of magical benefits, make it turn my wheel or whatever. Lots of things I can do with it, but there are limitations too. Yeah. Very
Mhm.
cool. Very cool.
I
I
like that with
can
the river.
definitely get plenty personal value and benefit out of it. But intent is so incredibly magical. The intent of intent is to make it the best it can possibly be for you within the context and parameters of learning, growing, awareness, understanding. That's
So
very.
can I ask both of you, because this would be a question for both of you, because Sue, with the work that we do.
Mhm.
So what I've been recently, just because I'm really trying to understand this intent and intention,
Mm.
I try to be very cautious
Of.
now that because of my understanding of intent and intention. And as I'm sharing this, so my intent when a client comes in is for them to receive what they need. But here's where the question comes in. When I'm bringing intention, and I'm saying that because to me, if I bring the word intent, if I bring intent to say, I'm going to bring my hands here with the intent to heal, and I'm just using those words, to me, that feels wrong because who am I? So
Yes.
I'm bringing intention to this body part. I am bringing
Yes.
intention to
Yes.
the eyeball. I'm bringing intent. I'm
Wow.
bringing intention versus intent. So I wanted to make sure I'm on the right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me do a repeat back here for clarity. When you're in a situation with the client, instead of bringing an intent to do something, which is an intent is a specific action, it is a confirmed action, it is an application that you're already setting things in motion. In other words, you've made a determination as to what is appropriate with your intent. And you say with your client, you do not have enough information to do that. So you have an intention to do this. And that intention is now subject to information from the client. And from that intention, because it's not a commitment to action, it's an openness to say, I'm waiting. When things come, I'll act as appropriate. When the eyeball pops out, oh, okay, it needs washing. All right, I see. All right, here we go. Thank you.
Mhm.
See?
Yes,
It's
because for
appropriate. In other words, because to have an intent without knowing precisely and to intend on someone else's behalf is a presumption.
Right.
okay, that's
But there's sometimes in a client where ahead of time, well, they tell you what they want, then your intent is clear to be
Yeah.
appropriate to proceed.
Right.
But when you're going in and it's an open book, it's a open clean slate there, then that word intention, yes, what is my desire, or what is her body asking to be done, then you can get your intent on what to do. that was picking out the eyeball, washing it off. That was the actual intent. But your intention was to let the body show you what to do. And then once you get that clear, clear.
Okay, say that again with the eyeball. So if I'm hearing, so the intent was, here's the client sharing about her eyes.
Mhm.
So my intent is, please show me, here's the intent to show me with the eyes where to go. But then when we get to that eyeball, I don't know enough about what's going on in that eyeball. So that would be more of the intention of working with the eyeball, of that it's showing me what it needs.
Yeah, ask the body to show you. The intention is to let the body show you what to do, or actually that is an intent. The intent
that's okay.
Show you what to do.
Yes, and you have a bigger intent. It's all about contextual layering. You have an intent to service the client. You have an intent to do good. You have an intent to be right. You have an intent to be ethical. You have an intent to be appropriate. So when it came to the eyeball popping out, well, my intent to be appropriate, my intent to be good, my intent to service the client. Well, oh, I gotta wash it. Okay, I'll do it. There we go. Back it goes. Very simple. But when you said your intention is that's it. Part of your intention is openness. That intention that I don't know specifically the specific intents that I'm going to do, and those I can only know when the situation. So you can't have an intent to wash the eyeball. You can have an intent to be appropriate, but you can't have an intent to be. So intention is openness, and intent here is the specific actions. But again, they're very contextual. Yes.
And simplifying it too, to stay with the word intent, the intent is to allow the body to show you what it needs to do, that what's appropriate. So you're still in that intent, you're still in that action mode, but in a bigger picture there. Show me. My intent is to listen to the body to tell me what it needs to do. Boom, right to the eyeball. Oh, here I am. Oh, why didn't it take you to the knee? Why didn't it take you to her toe? It took you right to the eyeball because your intent was, again, not to fix that person, to let the body show you where you needed to go that was appropriate for that person.
Okay. Yeah, that helps. Yes.
That lets you go into that action mode to kind of validate what you're doing in a sense too. Yeah, that's what
we don't presume to know specifics. Those are situational.
Exactly. And
that's where your intention is. It's open, but the intent is big picture intent, not specific action intent.
Correct. Correct. Just show me intent to have their body show me what is appropriate to work on or to do today for her,
Yes. Yes.
So that intent kind of it was kind of getting intermingled with that eyeball.
I think you used it really appropriately.
Oh, absolutely. You did it exactly right.
The intention was the desire or the belief or the intent is the doing. The intention is the possibility of doing something.
Yeah. So you used it absolutely appropriately.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. I just needed more clarity on that, because so it's actually getting intermingled at that one moment, in that one moment of time. Exactly. It's doing a dance of.
Yeah. That's why I think sometimes that clarity of just simplifying it, if you stay in that intent mode, just make it a general intent of asking the body to show you what, just like, remember the first time we talked about cranial sacral, if you think, you said, I don't know what this rhythm is. And I said, I know what you're tapping into. You're tapping into the cranial sacral rhythm, and didn't know what it was called or anything like that. So when I had you put your hands on your thighs while you were laying there, and I said, if you think you feel it, you do. Get out of your own way in there. And, there's that trust, there's that belief that it will present itself if it's supposed to. And in the rhythm, it did. You tapped into it immediately.
All right.
So the whole process is intent and intention are both being applied to these, like the nested dolls, right? But it's nested context. Yeah. So intention applies to some context, intent applies to others. So there you go. So just see, and then when we start to unpack it, we see when intention was appropriate and when intent was appropriate. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You
That's a
can't
good
know ahead of
analogy. I
time
like
what
that
you're
with the
going to do.
dolls.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can
So you can't
understand.
know ahead of time. You can't set an intent of what specifically to do. You can set an intent what to do in the abstract. In other words, to be,
Ah,
there you go. But you can set an intention to discover what precisely you want to do. Yeah.
yes. Okay.
So it actually applies what I was saying earlier from a facilitator point of view, right? So the exact same thing applies. We set the intention to have what is specifically appropriate come up in the session for us and share that, elucidate, extrapolate, whatever, emphasize. But we have the intent to be of service. We have the intent to be appropriate. We have the intent to make space for things to come. We have the intent to make space for the participant to share, to be open, to be free, to have joy, to be emphasized, and so on and so on. Right? So same logic, yeah, Sue?
Absolutely. Yeah. When you, and then in the, to add on to that, when you don't know what the specifics are, the appropriate intent is to
Yeah.
let the intent be to ask to the body to show you what it needs
Exactly.
to do.
Right. Not just the body, but the circumstance, the situation, the
Wait,
universe.
situation. There you go.
On it.
Out of the body, the situation. Let this situation present itself. That's an even better verbiage on it. So when there is not a specific, oh, their neck, they didn't hurt their neck, they didn't, jam up their ankle, whatever. When you know you're not working on something specific, let the appropriate intent be to let the situation show you what it needs. That's the intent.
Very
Okay.
cool.
Great little mantra to have.
Yes.
Say it again, please.
What's that?
The mantra.
Yeah. So I just want to hear it again, just for emphasis.
So when you don't know a specific at hand, especially for a client, let the intent be for the situation to show you what it needs. That's your intent. That's your overall intent.
Exactly. The intent to let it come to you.
And that's exactly what happened. Robin. But
Exactly. And sometimes that too, it comes from outside, sometimes it comes from inside, sometimes it comes from who the heck knows where, sometimes it will come from others. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
All right. Number 9 is also a task. So I'll just read through this. To release from typical behavior, do I have to demonstrate and apply some non-typical behavior? Yes. For me, this is habit. I am viewing habit and behavior as one, sometimes positive, sometimes not. Therefore, I must first be aware of my behavior. Then I must pause, zoom out, assess, follow through, and shift as appropriate. This can be uncomfortable at times, and trust must be in the driver's seat, steering towards appropriate and positive outcomes for me, allowing me to choose the route and trusting that I will arrive safely at my destination. What kind of typical behavior would be appropriate in this context and also not be appropriate? I laugh because this brings up my experience with the dogs last week. Friday and using my voice to scream. I was aware, that this was that situation with the dogs.
The Akira's, yeah.
Yes, I was aware that dogs could be friendly, but also aware that I had my dogs and unaware of how they would react while I was alone with no help.
Akita or Akira? Gosh, I got a muddle.
Akitas, yeah.
Akitas, yeah.
What does moreness mean to me? I am
But
aware
one
of.
second before you go there, right? It's what kind of atypical behavior would be appropriate. So this is a key here. Look, the eyeball, atypical behavior. The knife, atypical behavior. Really, when we just analyze all of this, we are learning not to be freaked out at something that's unusual, different, unknown. That's it. That's all
Oh
it
my
takes.
gosh. Expect
That's
the
all.
unexpected.
Exactly. And not to be freaked out as a default. Now, that doesn't mean that we just accept anything and or we think it's, oh, okay. No, but it's not to freak out by default, to assess, to look at, to take the power pause, to observe. And hey, we've got the intent already that stuff is appropriate coming to us. So there's a positive bias in terms of our reaction. But when we are open, when we are making space for the unusual to be a gift, oh my goodness.
So it's almost as if though that situation with the dogs was
Start.
my initiation to
Yes,
how are
exactly.
you going to respond to this situation, even though you knew it was potentially safe and trusting. What are you going to do? Oh my
Exactly.
gosh, that's
What
wild.
kind of atypical behavior would be appropriate? That's it. That's the key. That's what we're learning. This is what all these gifts are. Atypical behavior, what is appropriate? And what kind of atypical? In other words, for me, my typical behavior is to when something is new and unusual. Ah, Africa. Why? Absolutely why? There's not one single good reason to do that. Zero. None.
Mhm.
Just because it's different and unusual, just because it's atypical. Why freak out? It makes no sense whatsoever. You're just shutting your mind down, like Sue was saying. All your attention goes, everything, right? But when you stay open and say, oh, maybe this is a gift. Maybe. I don't know, but maybe. Let's see what's appropriate. What's appropriate. Bing, 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 bang, boom. Suddenly, magic.
Yeah, and that's like, any atypical behavior. If you don't want it to paralyze you from the fear that usually comes in there, there's where caution, appropriate
Caution.
caution, comes into the picture, uh, and it allows you to be more open, but still not, whoa, and opening yourself up for danger or disaster or something.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. We want to get this freaking out. So we want to learn to, like you, and you are. You want to say, oh, wait a second. Atypical behavior, external or atypical situations. I behaved atypically and it was appropriate. I behaved atypically and it was appropriate. So we've expanded ourselves right there. One go. You just jumped the shark into a whole new magical universe, right? Take again, Star Trek, boldly exploring space. They encounter the anomaly. Always they are required to behave atypically to deal with the anomaly every single time. That's what makes the episode. That's why it's exciting, right? If
Just
they were not able to respond atypically, they wouldn't be able to deal with it, and we wouldn't have a show. There wouldn't be explorers.
Mhm.
They wouldn't be the cream of the crop on the Starship Enterprise. There'd be nobodies. It's their ability to respond atypically to atypical situations without freaking out, in other words.
So just to be clear, what was your, Robin, atypical behavior with those two different clients?
Yeah,
What was your atypical behavior
that was appropriate.
that was appropriate?
The pausing,
Ah,
the zooming out, the trust in self,
Then
um,
unfreaking out.
the unfreak out, the lack of fear.
Yes, yes,
It was
yes.
almost like looking at it was almost as if
Trust.
here's fear and not not going there.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. Fantastic.
And
Fantastic.
and and that what you were just sharing with the with the Star Trek. Wow. And I say that because now I'm looking at different situations in life. Now I could see different TV shows and movies how when you have these strong heroines and heroes that when they're confronted with situations they're not freaking out. They're pausing.
Exactly.
Even though they may be freaking out on the inside of
Yeah.
what's my next step, their behavior on the outside is not the same.
Right.
And for me with those dogs, the behavior that I presented on the outside
Yeah.
with just trying to get somebody's attention, which there was none, but what was going on the inside was actually different, because normally I'd be screaming on the inside and freezing on the outside, and this time I was calm and collected on the inside, but I was using my voice to say, okay, what can I use to try to get out of this situation with these dogs? So and what a
Very cool.
difference presenting
It's a
self.
huge difference. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
You are trusting. You are trusting your competence
Mhm.
in general, not your competence specifically, because it's a new situation. So you are trusting your competence in general, as in, I'll figure this out, or I'm trusting my competence, the ability I've acquired to make space for solution, resolution, assistance to come from outside of me.
Mhm.
So that's my competence.
Right.
I am competent in trusting and having the intent and the ability to make space for solution and resolution to come.
Mhm. Mhm.
My ability here is to make space. I trust my competence to make space. I trust my competence in this skill of making space for release from should, from convention, from default, from usual, from habit.
Mhm.
So I'm right from unhooking, I make space for moreness to come, because I'm not focused, like Sue said. If you focused on the freak out, it narrows your attention and you don't see the rest. That's all you are seeing. So we are trusting our competence to make space. I want to bring this really full circle, because this is the session that we're on, making space for release. Now we are making space for many different kinds of release, but right now we are particularly focused on the release from usual, from habit, from typical, so that we are making space for atypical. And this is our competence, the ability to make space for the atypical, for the unusual, for the magic, for the moreness to come. In other words, we are competent at being appropriate. Yes, in the bigger picture. We are competent at getting assistance from outside of ourselves or from inside of ourselves when we didn't even know wow, I didn't know I knew that. Okay, I just created that. I just invented that. So what? It's coming from me or from outside. But the key point, I'm dealing with the situation in ways I never could. That's our competence, the competence of trust in our abstract overview skills. Yes? We
Yes.
are trusting we'll make space for things to come. We are trusting we'll be appropriate. We're trusting we'll figure it out. We're trusting we'll power pause. We're trusting we won't freak out. We are trusting we'll be appropriate. We'll pay appropriate attention. We are trusting we'll intend when we know what to intend. All of the stuff we are trusting. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, and take it a step further with a little bit more nuanced. All these atypical behaviors that you've experienced or experiencing here, um, don't uh, don't dismiss the atypical action that you did that was appropriate in those sessions. The pulling out of the knife, the taking out of the eyeball and washing it. That's an atypical action and atypical behavior that was actually appropriate in that context, you know. So it goes beyond that atypical behaviors that you spoke about, not being afraid and not freezing and so forth.
Hmm.
So cool. So
Almost
cool.
like taking out the fear, taking out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And because the client is always us, so whether it be for the client or self,
Right.
we, I,
I is more than one.
yeah. Wow.
Ah.
I have to sit
You
with that
said
a little bit
taking out
more.
the
Yeah.
fear. Taking out the fear. Right. What else was taken out? That eyeball. What is an eyeball but an object that sees, that perceives? Right. When you think of this in this context, taking out your fear, your perception of fear, and you wash it. Wash your perception of fear. Clarify your vision, clarify your intent,
Oh
clarify
my
your...
gosh.
I love this. I love this eyeball
Wow.
metaphor. It's got so much legs to it. It's just brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Washing perception of fear.
Yeah.
Fear clouds perception.
The fear
Very
of
cool.
seeing. You were cleaning that. You were making clarity on the fear of seeing. For
Now,
them,
want...
for
I was just
you.
hanging with you this morning.
Yes, yes. So see my background here, right? I think of this from a connectivity point of view, and we see the magic that's going on here. When we get such incredible gifts, there's usually a multi-layeredness to it, at least in my experience, almost always. When we start looking at things through that symbolic, figurative, metaphorical lens, there's so much more. This gift of the eyeball, look now, it's a gift of cleaning perception, specifically of fear. It can be cleaned of other things, of doubt, of default, of anxiety, whatever. Doesn't matter. Same thing, you know. Washing our eyeballs is quite a big deal. Quite a big deal. Very
Wow.
interesting that it's on one side, because we don't, not all of us sees things through that lens. The other eye is cool. So we need to learn to shift and not just go with the one eye and use the potent eye until that other eye gets cleaned up. We see differently. We see differently. It's really cool.
Yeah, you can look at it as, not having tunnel vision, only using, if the one eye isn't bad, your depth perception is off. There's a lot of things that get skewed when you
Gotta
only
use them both.
have one eye. So the other one needed to be clean so that they could both have more clarity to see
Exactly.
what really needed to be seen on the bigger
Exactly.
picture. Chloe, put one hand over your eyes. There's a lot you miss. There's a lot.
Exactly.
Put that up, the world opens up.
And to take the metaphor all the way, right? So we have an eye that sees opportunity, excitement, and exploration. But it's like a kid. You want to grab into it, and sometimes it can be dangerous. So you need to have a bit of caution. The other eye, the one that got cleaned here, of fear, it cleans to caution, sobriety, power pause, not fear. Fear makes you back away, run away, which is inappropriate if it is an opportunity. But the over eagerness will also get you into trouble. So we have to have that balance, right? But the eye, you want it to be balanced with caution, not with fear. Because fear is cloudy. Caution is clear. Yes? Caution is sobriety. Caution is preparedness. Caution is strategy, right? So that eye that's now been cleared is the strategic eye. It's the sober eye. It's the sensible eye. Yes, it's the appropriate eye. It's the balanced eye. It's the mature eye. The other eye is eagerness and enthusiasm and excitement, moreness, opportunity, wonderfulness, excitement, appreciation, all of that stuff, right? Balance, balance, balance. But we want appropriate balance. Balance isn't between negative and positive. No, it's between, excitement and sobriety. Balance, yes? Lots of different balances. Eagerness and a power pause. Yeah. Caution and exploration, different balances. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. What's in your eye?
All right, so then let's see if these finish all this up
I
then.
like my eyes to feel clear, by the way. That's why I'm always kind of wiping them. They have to feel clear. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. It's really interesting. Who knows?
Yeah, well, you know what? Now the eyes are going to be
Yeah. Also, just one more thing on eye. Yes. Popping out the eye. Let's change that a little bit to make it an I, the letter I, as in me, I. Yes. So when you pop out your eye and then wash it, it is looking at yourself from an outside perception. You are standing separate to yourself and you're saying, hey, I'm going to wash myself a little bit, clean myself up, get rid of all these doubts and fears and anxieties. And this is exactly
gosh.
what you have been doing. Yes. So again, this popping out of the eye, I pay attention to anomalies. It's so anomalous. And typically anomalies always have this moreness, layeredness, more. So when we look at it through this lens, symbolically, oh, the eye popped out and I had to wash it. Oh, wow. My eye can pop out and get washed. Wow.
I am cleaning myself. I am cleaning myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wiping my lenses, right? Because this was really, when you say cleaning here, it's kind of like wiping the lenses, the filtering of perception, right? Making it was cloudy, you washed it, see more clearly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Magical stuff.
All right, I got to
Magic.
sit with this for a second.
Mhm.
Well, because it's interesting because, all right, so, we're talking about this eyeball. So I could see it was really about cleaning the inside. Like the eyeball was just the, all right, Macy.
She's agreeing.
It's like cleaning the inside.
Mhm.
So it's cleaning the inside of me. The eye is just the tool.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a door.
Exactly.
It's a door that
Exactly.
opened. Eyeball can be the door that opened up to get inside.
To get inside.
Or like the computer guys say, garbage in, garbage out. Right? If your eye
Yes.
is clouded and filtering and you seeing fear, well, what are you going to have inside you? You are absorbing fear, and your output is going to be fear-based, fear-related, fear-influenced. So what comes in is the leverage point to determine what's inside and what goes out. Yeah. It's very key. It's very key. It's very key. We
Like-
want, oh, go ahead.
No. I just say the portal into self.
Exactly.
Taking it out,
Very
which
good.
now there's a portal there. Now
Yeah.
there's an opening. The opening, the portal into oneself.
Yeah. And we have very different eyes.
Mhm.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
That is Macy saying to me that she wants to go out now.
No
And I
problem.
know
No
she needs to
problem.
go out. So
No problem. No
I put
problem.
my thing here because I know we have to finish the last part of that task, which there's probably a reason why we had to stop where we
Oh, no,
stopped,
it's
because
perfect. Perfect,
more will
guys.
come the next time we are together.
Yes. And I
So it's
love
still
this
slide
magical
9.
of yours. This
Yeah.
gift. I mean, really, I want to just end on appreciating the absolute incredibleness of this phenomenal gift. It was an anomaly, yes?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Pay attention to anomalies. Why? Because we see all of the value that's come out of it. For me, I'm not going to remember this popped out eyeball. I love this. All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye, Robin.
You got it. I
Bye-bye.
will see all of you on Monday. And Sue, I will talk to you on Saturday.
Thanks.
All right. You got it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brilliant. 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 Brilliant.